Hey, I'm Spirit. Maybe you already know that, or maybe this is the first time we're meeting. Either way, welcome. This is a part of a series in which I intend to break down each and every corner of Idriad. You know, the little fantasy world ya boy is obsessed with. As I went over in the overview, everyone in Idriad can be categorized in various ways. Two of these ways include the element, which is a less fancy way to say manipulation type, or by how pure they are. Idriad is a place where the elements have taken root in every aspect and corner of the world. Naturally, this includes the creatures within the world as well. Creatures have seen the most change, and often these changes are element-specific. Each element-specific change is counted as a trait. These traits determine a multitude of things. One major thing is how pure that manipulator is and how they are treated within the world around them. Additionally, they tend to have stronger connections to their elements the more traits they have. I should probably mention that there are 7 pure elements and a long list of sub-elements. I'm not going to go over each and every one because you'll get bored and you most likely can guess what most of them are. Pure elements are the only ones with purebloods and nobles. Purebloods can be seen as like a ruling monarch, though this isn't quite their role, and it entirely depends on the element. For example, light manipulators highly value their purebloods, while electro manipulators despise theirs. Pure elements can master a sub-element, but sub-element manipulators cannot manipulate a pure element. Kind of like how all squares are rectangles, but not all rectangles are squares, that kind of deal, you know? Sub-elements, however, can be very useful and are often quite stronger than the pure element. They also have a bunch of unique traits which branch off pure counterparts. Some who manipulate the sub-element consider themselves to be nobles. However, given that nobles are based off of the purity, many do not consider this the case. Sub-element nobles are often given the label of a false noble. In addition, some sub-elements are rarer than others, and a couple are pretty much outlawed. The 2 outlawed include manhwa, or like time manipulation. That's a fancy name, I know, I spent ages on it. Or necron, you know, necromancy, but I don't want to say necromancy every time, but I do say manhwa, because why not? Manhwa. Even I can't pronounce that. Hello? No, it's manhwa. I'm not redoing that. How do you outlaw something like this? Simple answer, you don't let these manipulators live long enough to become a problem. Got it? Cool. Most sub-elements are either a specific aspect of the pure element, like, for example, ice being a derivative of water, or a combination of pure elements, like lava being a mix of fire and earth, or spring and inferno, you know. It should be noted that sub-elements are not hybrids. While hybrids are technically a mix of 2 elements within one manipulator, sub-elements have their own category and are a result of that mix. Most notably, they can only manipulate that specific sub-element. Hybrids, on the other hand, can be a combination of pure elements or sub-elements, and there is a chance that they will be a dual manipulator, or they are able to control both of their elements. There's also a chance that their combination would actually work to their disadvantage, which is not the case for sub-elements. If a hybrid has opposing elements, the chances that using their elements have physical effects. And often these physical effects are not nice. For an example, if a lava and ice hybrid presented mostly with ice elemental traits, but their actual element is lava, they do not have the heat protection or anything, and will likely get hurt every time they use their element, or even not exist in this world anymore. Hybrids are treated differently in each manipulator type, or even just in each town, with some worshipping them and valuing them like gods, while others treating them no different to Wosa. Manipulator type is normally identified by the fur color, or feather color, or whatever the heck the species has of the individual manipulator, but this isn't always accurate. It is generally accurate, and it is like a very good assumption to make, but some sub-elements can occasionally be mistaken for their pure counterparts, or a hybrid can use so many traits of one element but actually manipulate the other, though this is unlikely because it is likely that they have some form of their other element within them, or like they have another elemental trait. I don't know how to word this. But you know, they have a mix. They are a mix. That is what a hybrid is. Similarly, the elemental trait is unique enough to where it helps with identifying each of the types. An example of this being what I like to call mini wings, or wing studs, which are unique to like wind manipulators, and they're just basically mini versions of wings all over the individual's body. How pure they are is determined by how many traits they have. Commoners, or basically the majority of the population, have stunted versions of the elemental trait, or a single full trait. Though this full trait will not be full-grown horns or wings, because I say no. Commoners are generally given no special treatment, but at that they are also given no mistreatment, unless their manipulation type is seen as not great by others, but that is something else, and that is manipulation type, not them specifically. Above commoners are nobles, which display 2 to 3 elemental traits, and on a whole they are generally pretty respectable. If their manipulation type values purity, then they are treated like nobility, hence the name noble, but on a whole you can just call them nobles because they display so many traits. The only ones that outshine nobles would be purebloods. Purebloods are those that display all elemental traits, or at least a majority. And by a majority, I mean they only miss like one. As I said before, their treatment is entirely depending on manipulation type, but they are generally held with respect, or at least they're feared because they are generally pretty strong. Hybrids I've already covered, but I should also mention that hybrids are generally very common. Granted, some combinations are less common than others, but it's pretty hard not to be common when you have so many combinations. And last but not least, we have the whyyy. Whyyy are those without the capabilities to manipulate elements at all. They can occasionally take on the colors of their parents, for example, blue if their parents were aquatic manipulators, but they normally appear like their original species. For example, if a fox were born a whyyy, then they would appear like any common fox we'd see in our daily lives. Not that we see foxes in our daily lives, but you know, that's how they'd look. Whyyy are treated like second-class citizens if acknowledged at all. Often they are just killed at birth or left to live a life of servitude. They often cannot speak the common tongue and will only speak the species-specific language. There are, of course, exceptions, but those are rare. As I covered before, prey species, which are whyyy, are seen as fair game to hunt. The places that they can live is also pretty limited. Many places have taken on new forms due to the elements, and that is often hostile to normal animals, which whyyy are. Many feel whyyy have no natural defenses and are fundamentally weaker. A lot of their treatment is not really noticed or seen as just a fair price for the protection that they receive or repayment, basically. It's not a great thing. Similarly, parents whose offspring are whyyy tend to be punished just as severely, if not more severely, than the child. While someone being born a whyyy is rare and entirely random, many believe that it is the parents who have earned the wrath of Leki, which made this child be born without the blessing of manipulation. Whyyy, if they live long enough to mate, will likely produce other whyyy offspring. This is sometimes taken advantage of. In Idriad, there is a meat market which often have less than savory fates for whyyy in the area. Given that most of the population separate whyyy from the rest of society, no one has a lot of complaints about this and is just seen as a necessary evil. The few ways whyyy can live out relatively peaceful lives is to accept the role as someone's pet, which is, seen as lower than even a summon. Try their luck living in the wilderness. Granted, they will likely be hunted. Or accept a life of servitude, but even then there's no guarantee of safety. Most hope to live in Lumire, the City of Light, as they have the best treatment of whyyy, because they treat pretty much everyone equally. But even then, their safety isn't exactly guaranteed. Well, that got depressing. Anyways, once again, I encourage people to ask questions. I'd love to answer each and every one of them. Additionally, I plan to continue this in the future and dive into location-specific hierarchies rather than general ones like this was. If anything I covered was muddled or unclear, I apologize. I have no excuse, I tend to ramble, and I have no intentions of stopping. Oh yeah, before you go, if any of this sounds interesting to you, please consider checking out my Discord server. It has an entire category dedicated to stuff, and I will likely update that before anything else gets updated. Similarly, we have a functioning ARPG in there, and it's really a lot of fun, or at least I and a few others enjoy it. You can find that in the description along with any of my other socials. I'm not going to bother with the whole funk thing. Well, that being said, if you like what you see in the background, they are speed paints that I have done recently, and if you like my style enough and want to see a character of your own here, I do have commissions open at the moment. I don't have a solid outro for this, but if you have stuck around this far, please let me know by commenting, cheese. Thanks for sticking around. I hope you stick around further for the Jack sticking around so many times. Okay, see ya.